Okay, so what on earth is BCS? This is the logo, black background, the Chartered Institute for IT. BCS stands for, or traditionally stood for, British Computing Society. But I think it is just BCS now, but traditionally it was British Computing Society. Founded in 1957. According to the Articles of Association, in 1957, it was in full the British Computer Society Limited. But then, yes, in 2009 there was a rebranding effort. That's, I think, when they introduced this new black logo, and now it is just BCS. So 57 we're talking about here. Just for context, the USSR is launching Sputnik 1. The Prime Minister of the UK is resigning in this year. The Suez Canal crisis is continuing. South Vietnam, events are occurring there. But also the late 50s, 57 is the year BCS is founded. Now the first president of BCS was Sir Maurice Wilkes. And Maurice Wilkes designed the EDSAC, or EDSAC, which stands for Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator. And this was one of the earliest stored program computers. We can trace the concept of microprogramming to to the EDSAC computer, where there's kind of prearranged routines, or it's to do with the logic in the central processing unit. So here is another image of Sir Maurice Wilkes. After school, he went to Cambridge University and studied mathematics, the mathematical tripos. During his school years, he had an interest in amateur radio and the physics behind it. So after completing his undergraduate degree at Cambridge in maths, he then goes and does a PhD on radio waves in the ionosphere. So that's Maurice Wilkes. He's the first president of BCS. He was born in 1913. He died in 2010. And in 57, the year Sputnik 1 is launched, he becomes president of the British Computing Society. Some other key events in 66, the next decade, so in 9 years into its existence, the BCS is granted charitable status. They're given a shield and crest in 70, and then in 76, the Duke of Kent becomes the patron. That's the crest. I doubt they use that much now. I think that's a leopard. Who has been president of the British, or the BCS? Here you can see Sir Maurice Wilkes. He actually is president for 3 years, right up to 1960. Not all of the presidents are computer scientists. For example, in 1982, that year, it is Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, the patron. He'd become patron in 76, was it? There are many men with knighthoods and also dames. You might see someone you recognise here. The most recent presidents, Rebecca George in 2020, and then John Higgins in 2021. So, some other features of the BCS. What do they do? Well, you'll remember that the tagline was the Chartered Institutes for IT Professionals on that modern logo. The Chartered Institute for IT. So the BCS is the only professional body in the United Kingdom with the ability to grant chartered status to IT professionals under its Royal Charter, granted to them by the Privy Council. So they're therefore able to grant this what's called chartered status to both its fellows and its professional members. And then if you become a member or a fellow, you're known as a chartered IT professional. You're entitled to use the suffix CITP. The BCS keeps a register of current chartered members and fellows. Other professional membership bodies apply to the BCS for a license that enables them to award CITP, Chartered IT Professional, to their eligible members. So you might see CITP being used or being awarded by bodies that are not BCS, however, their authority to do that derives from BCS. You might see the letters FBCS after someone's name if they're an eminent individual, and that stands for Fellow of the BCS. This title is conferred to individuals to recognise their outstanding achievements and contributions to information technology. Fellows are expected to give something back to the profession by promoting and evangelising the profession to the public and society, and contributing to debates and conferences, panels, meetings. Fellows are nominated to the Society each year and have to be supported by one or more existing Fellows. So criteria for election to become a Fellow of the BCS include demonstrating leadership in the profession, wide acknowledgement of specific IT expertise, so you're acknowledged to be an expert, contribution to the advancement of knowledge, you're an eminent individual, or you're an authority of some kind, and you have seniority, including leading major projects and managing teams. So, Fellows of the BCS. Here are some specific Fellows of the BCS: Tony Hay and Andy Harter, Herman Hauser and Frank Wang. BCS has different grades of membership. So you could be a distinguished fellow, but that's somewhat unlikely. There have only been 24 distinguished fellows ever. Or there are only 24 distinguished fellows, that's more than just being a fellow. Or you could also be an honorary fellow. Okay. But the main ones are really Fellow of the BCS, FBCS, or Member of the BCS, MBCS. You could be an associate member or a student member. So that's different from being member, presumably. So you could be a member, an associate member, or even a student member. There are also group and corporate and other membership categories. So, affiliate. This is for those with an interest in IT, but not yet employed in an IT role. So you can be an affiliate of BCS. There's group membership as well. Nearly 200 organisations now encourage their IT professionals to join the society through its group membership scheme. Education affiliates. Education institutions, they can also be accredited by BCS. Now, we said that BCS was the Chartered Institute for IT. The Engineering Council UK has licensed BCS to actually also award Chartered Engineer status and Incorporated Engineer status. The Science Council used to license BCS to award Chartered Scientist status. However, BCS no longer offers Chartered Scientist status. Members may also apply through BCS to the European Federation of National Engineering Associations for European Engineer status. BCS are responsible for a couple of publications. So there's a magazine called IT Now. Here are some two covers of that magazine. And there's also a peer-reviewed journal called The Computer Journal. So this is a peer-reviewed journal that was established in 1958. which is just 1 year after BCS was established, remember, 57. And this journal, it's owned by Oxford University Press, OUP, and the current editor is Tom Crick. Tom Crick was at one point a senior lecturer in computer science at Swansea University. He's interested in educational policies relating to IT. How do we teach IT? Here are some of his publications. Tom Crick, the current editor of The Computer Journal. In 2015, he wrote or co-authored Technocamps, Advancing Computer Science Education in Wales. Going back slightly further, in 2013, he contributed to this discussion on the policies of the Welsh Government regarding ICT. Innovative pedagogical practices in the craft of computing. How do you teach competence with computers? Okay, so that's the Computer Journal, one of the publications that the BCS is responsible for. There's a second journal as well called Interacting with Computers, and the subtitle is the Interdisciplinary Journal of Human-Computer Interaction. So there's a magazine and 2 journals. There are also awards presented by the ECS. Finally, we're just going to quickly look at some awards presented by the British Computer Society. One such award, among many, is the Roger Needham Award. This is awarded for outstanding contributions to research in computer science. It was established in 2004. Winners are awarded £5,000 and I believe given the opportunity to deliver a lecture. Here are 2 previous recipients of the Roger Needham Award, Sharon Goldwater and Jade Alglave. The 2005 winner of the Roger Needham Award was Ian Horrocks, and he also was a recipient of the next award we're going to look at, which is called the Lovelace Medal. This is perhaps the most famous award which the British Computer Society is responsible for awarding, but it is also sponsored by I think it's the Lovelace Medal by Microsoft Research. So the Lovelace Medal, this was established even earlier than the Roger Needham one in 1998. Again, you've got to have an outstanding contribution to computing. And we're told here, perhaps without justification, it is the top award in computing in the UK. Then it is a physical medal. Awardees deliver the Lovelace Lecture. So there's the medal you get. Who has been awarded the Lovelace Medal? The recipient of the award in 2000 was Linus Torvalds for creating the Linux kernel operating system. In 2001, Douglas Engelbart received the award for inventing the computer mouse. In 2006, for example, these are just some arbitrary examples, was Tim Berners-Lee of recipients for inventing the World Wide Web. And as we said again, Ian Horrocks has also received this prize. He was the 2020 recipient of the Lovelace Medal, and this was for significant contributions to the advancements of reasoning systems. So Ian Horrocks, this is his thesis called A Comparison of Two Terminological Knowledge Representation Systems. So done at the University of Manchester. This is beyond the scope of this these set of notes, but let's just briefly look at it, given that it's very relevant and current. So the purpose of this thesis, as part of the European Galen project, researchers in Manchester University's Medical Informatics Group are building a large concept model representing knowledge about medical terminology. Grail, a terminological knowledge representation system in the KL1 tradition, has been developed specifically for the task of building the concept model. And this thesis compares Grail with Loom, a state-of-the-art general-purpose TKRS, a terminological knowledge representation system. So what is a terminological knowledge representation system? Is the idea that what's being represented is some sort of terminological knowledge, and then here it's medical terminology. So they're saying Loom has the aim of, or rather this thesis does this comparison of Grail and Loom. Why does it do the comparison? Well, to get better understanding of Grail's semantics and expressive power through a formal comparison using set theoretic interpretations. Comparing scalability by measuring the rate of performance degradation with increasing knowledge base size. Okay. Evaluating both systems with particular reference to their ability to satisfy the requirements of the medical terminology application. And enhancing Grail's future development through the detailed study of an alternative system, which will be Loom. And this chapter describes the motivation for Grail's development, explains why Loom was chosen for the comparison, and details the bases of the comparison. After a brief note on nomenclature, the chapter concludes with an outline of the remainder of the thesis. So why was Grail developed? The development of Grail and its predecessor SMK has been motivated by the requirements of two medical informatics research projects. There was Pen and Pad, which is developing clinical information systems with predictive data entry, and Galen, which aims to develop language-independent concept representation systems as the foundations for the next generation of multilingual coding systems. So we have two ancestor systems, Pen and Pad and Galen, and both projects make use of knowledge about medical terminology represented in the Grail concept model. The Galen project uses the concept model and Grail classifier to drive a networked terminology server. It is intended that such servers will facilitate the integration of medical informatics applications and the sharing of medical data by providing sophisticated terminology and coding services. Pen and Pad's design incorporates an advanced user interface which uses knowledge from the model to predict what extra detail a clinician might want to add to a concept description. Okay, so we've gone far enough with that, but it's just to push it forward a bit. So that was the thesis of Ian Horrocks. That was some information who's received both the Roger Needham Award and the Lovelace Medal, and those are both awards presented by the BCS, the British Computer Society, which was established in 1957. First president was Sir Maurice Wilks.